Welcome back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. You know, I always say today, today, today. Well, it's just that today, oh man, this guy here, boy, woo, my guest today. I'm so excited. I actually prayed for this to happen. I said, Lord, I'm gonna need you on this one. I need you to pour some water on this one, Lord. My guest today, oh man, his credits just reads like the who's who. I got a page here. I should have had about 7 pages for his body of work and what have you. As you know, he's a music producer. He's an arranger. He's a session drummer. He's a composer. He's a music director as well as a film music director. Would you help me welcome Bill Maxwell? Hey, Bill.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Cheron.
I could have got hung up in that intro all day long, Bill.
No, no.
Hey,
Very
welcome
nice.
to the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
I'm honored to be with you, my friend.
Yes, sir. We are honored to have you. Let me start here. Let's start with your credits. We'll get to Andraé Crouch and the Disciples later on. But I want to start with, let's talk about working with Billy Preston. What was that like?
Working with Billy Preston was an honor and a privilege.
Wow, I know there's so many more. We'll talk about in a little bit. The Winans, as I said, Andraé Crouch and the Disciples. Cassandra Wilson, she's one of my favorites. What was that like?
How you dig up all these credits? I love that girl. I love that. I know there's something about Cassandra. She sang, and I just felt her. I felt her heart, and I tried to, be with her. And I said, I'm feeling you. And she said, no, I feel you feel me. We connect. And I still hear somebody will say, Jim Keltner, a great drummer, said, I ran to Cassandra. She wanted to know how you're doing. I just like her. She's soulful. She's Mississippi, but she's jazz, and she sings with her whole heart. She's a beautiful person. I want to play with her again.
As a music director, what was it like to play at the White House for former President Obama?
It was an honor. It's always an honor. I played at the White House in 1979 for Jimmy Carter. It was an honor, and it was again an honor. It was an honor to meet the president and the first lady.
Let's talk about some of the TV music directing you've done. Jamie Foxx Show, Martin, Living Single, Amen, For Your Love, and many more. What was it like working with Martin?
And so Martin had been on the air the first year, and he had a producer an executive producer who was his manager named Topper Carew, and they parted ways. And so Martin didn't want anybody that was in Topper's camp being on his show. So they were looking for a music director. So my friend called me and said, Martin's looking for somebody. And can you send over some demos of some of the stuff that you've been doing for TV? Well, if you watch television, the cues are, if you wouldn't notice, but going from one scene to the other, they're very short. They're like 10 seconds or 20 seconds. And it feels like if you listen to it without the picture, it sounds stupid. And I said, well, I can't send him that stuff. It's nobody, you can't listen to it. But there was other people being considered, some well-known people, and they submitted a bunch of those short cues. I, in turn, was producing an album, and I had some great tracks. They were funky, but 4 or 5 minute tracks. So I gave 3 songs, and I heard Martin put the other stuff on. He just listened to it, and he said, why did it stop? And the other one played 5. I said, why did it stop? And then he heard mine. He said, that's a jam. Well, get this guy. And it was just because I gave him long songs, I think. But I got there with him, and we, he became my friend. It was a privilege to do his show.
Working with the Coen brothers in the film industry as a music producer, did the movies The Lady Killers, Walk the Line, Romance and Cigarettes, and so forth. Lady Killers, wow. What was that like?
Well, that is to do with my friend T-Bone Burnett, who was the music director for those shows. He hired me to produce specific segments of it that it wasn't really his vein of music, the black gospel stuff that was a part of it. And the Coen brothers are the absolute nicest people you ever met. They're still my friends. Ethan calls me whenever he's in LA and they're doing anything, I go to it. It was fun.
You originally from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. You've done your
Oh
homework.
yeah. Say that again.
You've done your homework.
Well, this is one of the things that kind of surprised me. You was raised by your grandparents who influenced you to play music, and you kind of sort of entered music school at the age of 2. That's
That
an
sounds
early
like
start.
that sounds like a lie because it's hard to find a music school that will let somebody at 2 in it. But my mother was a jazz piano player, and she died right after I was born. I was 2 months old. And my father, there was 3 of us, had a brother 5 years older and 10 years older. I was the baby, and he wasn't equipped to deal with that. And my grandparents, my mother's parents, lived across the street from my father, so they essentially raised me. And he recognized that I think at about 2, they had a violin in the house, and the violins were in open fourth tuning. And there was some Grand Ole Opry on the radio, and I picked up the violin and just started playing along with it. And it happened to be in the same key. And I was just playing rhythms, but it sounded like I could really play. And they said, "Oh, he can play violin. We have to get him in music school," and which was not true at all. And they put me in this little preschool where they taught you how to read treble clef, play xylophones, and learn little melodies. And that was my preschooling. So I learned to read treble clef before I learned to read words. And so it is just kind of, Oklahoma City was an exceptional place for arts and music. And they had a symphony, and they had broadcast training. It was surprising.
You started playing drums at age 12. How did you get into the drums?
I had a piano teacher that wanted me to play everything just the way she said it. It was written. I was studying classical, and she didn't really teach me chords and progressions and inversions and all the things that you'd have to do, and playing in all keys and doing that. And I felt like it was something wrong. And I got so tired of the rigidness of classical music playing, just like this at this tempo, and memorize that and keep it the same. It wasn't fun. And I picked up some drumsticks, and I could play. I had from playing piano, the left to right hand thing made sense, and I just added the feet, which felt natural. So my grandfather made me earn the money. I had a paper route, and I threw papers and got enough money to buy a snare drum, and then I got a bass drum, got some cymbals, and I started the world's worst band at about 12. We ran everybody off. But at 13, I had a guy I knew that was a couple of years older, went to audition with a blues guitar player. At that time, he was just a local Native American guitar player named Eddie Davis, who became well known as Jesse Ed Davis. And I ended up playing, and he asked me to join his band.
1972, you moved to Los Angeles. Is that when you met Andraé Crouch, or did you come with him?
Oh, he snagged me. He was after me. We became Christians. I had a strong experience with the Lord, changed my life, and I still am so thankful. It changed my life, and I knew if I kept doing the clubs, it wasn't going to be the best thing for me because I was already getting into drugs, and I got out of that. Someone heard us and told Andraé about us. Andraé came to Oklahoma City, and he said, "Can I hear you guys' music?" And he said, "You got to be my band." And I kind of rejected it for a bit, and I ran back into him in June of 1972. We had a big outdoor festival called Expo 72 or Explo 72, and Andraé really started after me then. And then he called me and said, I auditioned for the Tonight Show, and they're going to put me on. And I really don't think my band's good enough. Could you and Hadley, I'll fly you out from Oklahoma to play on the Tonight Show with me. So I did. That was my first time playing with him. I moved to California to join Andraé.
Koinonia, what's that like?
The joy of my life, because I had been so caught up in producing and playing with Andraé that I hadn't been developing as a drummer. I kind of put that on the back burner. And Abraham Laboriel and I had booked on Abraham is a great bass player, probably one of the greatest in the world. And we were booked on a session together in the late 70s. He said, "Let's start a band." And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "I'm going to call you." He called me. It took 2 years. He called me. He said, "I'm ready. Let's start a band." And we started the Baked Potato, and we put that band together, and it was just a band for fun. And then someone said, "Would you come to Europe?" And we said yes. And I came to Europe, and it exploded. We went the first gig was in Copenhagen, Denmark, at a jazz club called the Montmartre. They had to open it all the way up, expand the size. People were standing for blocks away, little kids by themselves. I mean, 13, 14-year-old kids coming in to hear it. I don't know how they knew about us. It sure wasn't my credit. It was Abraham's or Alex Acuna's, but they came and it just exploded. And we were scheduled to do, say, 4 concerts and have a day off. They'd say, "Can you do 2 concerts a day?" And we worked every day because they were wanting us. And Alex and I tore the skin off our hands playing so much. But that started it, and we got better and better. My drumming got better. And I did that for 10 years. And I'm still in some way, I'm in Europe right now doing some of that same music because people want to hear it one more time. So it was a joy in my life.
Bill, do you realize as we get towards the drum side here, do you realize the influence you've had over drummers over so many generations?
No, but I'm hearing it now, and it's humbling because I hear these great drummers. Speaking of Cassandra, I got a call from a road technician that I knew, a sound engineer, and he said, "I'm working with Cassandra Wilson, and the drummer with Cassandra, it says it totally influenced him, and he has never met you, and he wanted to tell you how much what you've done meant to him." And his name is Marcus Baylor. And so I was going to a basketball game, and after the game, I went back, and Marcus told me all that stuff, and it was so sweet. And I'm still friends with Marcus now, and I hear it all the time from young, mostly African American drummers. And I had one woman, I'm not going to say her name, her husband's a great drummer, black drummer, and he said, "I can always tell if a drummer's black or if he's white when I hear it. Never misses." She said, "He heard you and knew you were black, and he got so mad when he found out you were white." And it really bugged him because I blew his theory. But not that I'm trying to sound anything. It's just that was the music that influenced me. That's the people I played with. And, I try to play with as much feeling as I can. I don't try to play as technical. I care more about the rhythm and the root, and if it moves people. And I don't want to be stiff in it.
Well, you did exactly that. This section is called Drum Talk, where we get to move in a little closer to the drums. What's your approach on the drums as a drummer?
To make the song feel good. To do the most appropriate thing I can to make that song feel good and make it work. I don't care how simple it is. I do care how complex it is because I maybe wouldn't be able to play it if it's too complex. But I try to find the most direct approach to what the source of the feel of that music is and to try to bring it home.
What do you think of this word gospel chops and the way the guys are playing these days? They're kind of blazing and blowing a lot.
They're unbelievable. And people tell me I started it, and I said, no, because I can never do any of that stuff. I mean, these guys are tearing it up. They're flying all over the place. My only problem with it is when it gets in the way of the music. If you feel like they're trying to show off their drums more than the song, because I really think that you always have to understand that your instrument is subject to the music you're playing. Don't ever love your instrument more than you love the music. If you do that, then you're setting yourself apart from the music. And sometimes that happens. They take these songs and everybody gets that big fast lines and everybody's doing all this stuff and it's exciting and wham, but where did the song go? What happened to the source of that song? But technically it's amazing. And there's a drummer who has those chops and he's extremely musical, and that's Larnell Lewis. In Toronto is one of the best drummers I've ever heard in my life. That he plays the music and he's got the chops. That's what I want to copy him. I need to study from him.
Let's talk about those gospel shouts. Oh boy, what's the correct way of playing those shouts?
I don't know. I can always play those. I think it came when I was a kid, and I heard Bobby Blue Bland, and they do those songs like "Turn on Your Love Lights and Don't Cry No More." So I started playing those in clubs. I play those beats. So when I started playing a shout, it was just a little simpler and we'd go a lot faster. And I could play them. And I love playing them. People get up, start dancing to them and moving. I still like them. Me and Billy Preston, we'd do that just by ourselves in the studio for hours, you know.
Bill, tell me about this project, Open Hands.
Well, it's kind of a continuation of my brother Abraham Labor and I. We just like to play together. It originally started as a quartet with Justo Almario, Greg Matheson, and Abraham and myself. And it's a little more jazz, pure jazz oriented. And now Tim Carmen has come in to take Greg's place. Greg decided he didn't want to do it anymore. But since the pandemic, we've been knocked out. You know, we haven't been able to tour and do it. So we were getting together every week, writing songs and practicing just to keep exploring. So we have, I think, about 20 something new songs to record, but we haven't done it. And we were supposed to play at Herb Alpert's Club Vibrato in Beverly Hills or Bel Air, California. But something came up and we couldn't do it. So hopefully when I get back to America, we'll get that started again, because that's another musical expression, especially to compose. We're all writing songs, and it's really good.
Is that around or along the same project as Sunlight?
No, Sunlight was four of the members from the Third Avenue Blues Band who, when we became Christians, we figured we better have a new name. That was Andraé's first backup band. The backup band that we had.
Bill, we usually ask this question in closing to the guests, to the drummers. Bill, what do you want your legacy to be said, to be told?
I love people, and I care about them more than the music. That I want their lives to be blessed. I want them to get something from the music that is more than what they hear, that it touches their soul, touches their spirit, and helps them be a better person. I want to do music that brings life and not death. I want to be involved in something positive. I believe in social change. As I told you, my love for African American people or African Black people it's totally changed me. I want love to come forth and to help people. I want to be involved in civil rights with my music and anything I do. It's spiritually, it's above anything. I don't care about it for me, awards or anything. I want to help people. That's it. That's my calling.
What a legacy it already is. Let me say thank you so very much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Well, thank you, Cheron, for including me, because I thought extraordinary drummers, I think they would probably be for me an average drummer, but I appreciate you doing this and giving me the opportunity to talk to some people and share, and I'm very thankful to do that with you.
Will you help me wave goodbye to all the fans?
Goodbye out there, you guys, and know that you have somebody that cares about you, and his name's Jesus. He loves you.
Thank you, Bill.